Welcome to the Migrant Resource Centre, Northwest Region Incorporated Diversity and Disability YouTube channel. Your Life, Your Voice program, where self-advocates and professionals in the disability sector are interviewed.
The Diversity and Disability Project would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we work and live and recognise their continued connection to land, water and community. We pay respects to elders past, present and emerging.
Nothing about us without us. We pay respects to all self-advocates who have worked hard over the years and still working tirelessly for their rights, supporting others with disabilities and human rights for all.
This channel is for people with disabilities who aspire to seek self-advocacy role models to inspire change in their everyday lives. Nothing about us without us. Choice and control are central themes. Every interview is as unique as you and I.
And it has our fundamental universal human rights ethos of respect for persons with disabilities, having their views heard and acknowledged. After all, it's all in the name. Your life, your voice.
Be the voice of change in your life.
Good morning and welcome to another edition of Your Life, Your Voice. My name is Julie Skiveris and I'd like to welcome Lara McFarland, my co-host. Hi Larissa, how are you doing?
Hi Julie, great to be here again.
Yeah.
A bit cold, but a bit colder in Melbourne, but hopefully getting warmer again soon.
Lovely to see you again. And today we have a special guest from the Ethnic Council of Shepparton and District, a self-advocate worker, Athena Papadotos. Welcome, Athena. How are you doing?
I'm very well, and thank you for having me, Julie. It's so nice to see you again.
Yes, we've previously interviewed Athena a couple of years ago, and today she's actually being interviewed, for her lived experience also, and also her work on the ground in Shepparton. So, Larissa, would you like to kick off the questions, please?
Sure. Although I'd like to slip in a question just at the beginning and just say hi, Athena. And do you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself before we launch into what your job is?
Yep, no worries. My name is Athena Papadotos. I come from a Greek background and speak fluent Greek. I have been living in Shepparton for about 35 plus years. And I'm well known within the community. I have done a number of different courses and a number of years of volunteer work.
Thanks for that. So tell us, you work for the Ethnic Council of Shepparton and Districts. What is your role there?
Yes, I do. I've been appointed for over a year now to do some self-advocacy work with multicultural people that have disabilities. Now, unfortunately, COVID has been a major barrier and I haven't been able to get into the community as much as I would have liked, but we're lucky enough since July to have this project continue. So, the role itself is to educate people with disabilities to stand up to their rights, if they need help to link in with other services. For me too, I often say if they want to help writing a letter or making a complaint to an organisation, it's important to be shown how to do that. I can do this individually or I can do this in monthly self-advocacy group meetings. Would you like me to tell you a little bit about what I've done in work-wise?
That would be great.
Sure. And I'd also be interested to know about the self-advocacy groups. Like, is there just one, or are there a few in Shepparton?
Okay. Look, what I've done at the moment, when this new contract started in July, I've been going around to different organisations within Shepparton to tell them, you know, what my role is with the Ethnic Council. And we're also in October running a self-advocacy workshop, which I'll be talking about what my role is. And I will also be having another advocate from our local advocacy agency come and speak about NDIS appeals and the process that they go through the appeals process. And the other thing that we're looking to do within the next couple of months is create different videos in different languages about what self-advocacy is and put it on, you know, particular social media apps. We're finding that a lot of the multicultural communities here in Shepparton have WhatsApp, so we're going to see if we can put some of these videos on WhatsApp.
Very cool. Yeah.
So it's good to know your community and what apps that they use. It's all about accessibility and addressing those issues, that's well done.
Look, I am finding that a lot of people with multicultural backgrounds and have disabilities don't use a lot of apps. So once I do finally get a group up and running, one of my sessions will be done on, you know, using Facebook and using, you know, I've gone blank, Messenger. So just doing a session on social media, basically.
Yeah, that's really important. There's so much that happens on social media that it is really important to get information out there, for sure.
So how about we continue? So, Athena, do you have any stats of people living with disability in Shepparton and employment stats for people living with disability?
Oops. Look, your video is being playing. Your video is playing up, Julie.
Is it?
Oh, that's all right. I think it'll be right now. No, I don't have any specific stats of people living with disabilities, because a lot of the multicultural people that have children, they tend to hide them and they tend to do their own personal care by themselves. But I am aware of, you know, that people are getting into more employment. Disabled people are now getting into more employment, whether it's, you know, them finding employment, or whether it's, you know, an employment agency assisting a person to find employment, or whether, you know, they have supported employment, which a lot of, you know, there's a particular day facility option that does a lot of supported employment. So that's good, because I can say myself, since I've been working, my confidence level has been boosted majorly.
Yeah, that's a really good point to make, is that when you get a job, it can improve,
you know,
improve so many aspects of your life, can't it? Yeah.
I've got a lot of flexibility to do what I want. You know, a lot of people say that the NDIS gives you flexibility, but it does give you flexibility to a point. But if you don't have your own money, you can't do exactly what you want to do.
But it's also with employment comes access to different communities and different people and different responsibility.
Yes.
You learn stuff.
Yes.
You have a sense of purpose and belonging. I think, those are things that employment offers as well that are really important for anyone.
For me, going into the Ethnic Council now, I've been working with them for over a year, as I said, and for me, I'm just one of them. I'm just part of their team.
That's great. So does the Ethnic Council, did they employ many disabled people before you joined them?
Look, they haven't employed anyone that I'm aware of. I'm the first one that I'm aware of, but, I also did my placement with Chris about 12 years ago when I was doing my Diploma of Community Services. So, I'm well known within the organisation before I started working there about 18 months ago.
Yeah. So moving on, I know that October is, because we've just entered October. October is National Self-Advocacy Month. Are you aware of that, Athena?
Yes, I spoke at a SARU forum last week about a similar thing to what we're speaking to today.
Fabulous. I'm so pleased to hear. I missed that session. But yes, for all the self-advocates out there, this is our month. And it's quite a new thing. It's only been going a couple of years. Thanks to SARU, they've introduced this National Self-Advocacy Month every October. And yeah, there are some forums happening online every Wednesday, and I think morning, usually 11 to 1 for the month.
Yeah, it is morning because I spoke last Wednesday morning.
But I know that they're also going to be doing an evening event where they're going to have some performances, and it'll be more of a celebration and a social event. So, yeah, if you can, make sure you can catch one of those. So the question is, Athena, how has self-advocacy evolved in regional Victoria?
Well,
where's it?
I think it needs to evolve more. A lot of people in regional Victoria don't know what self-advocacy is. And that's why, I sort of say it's more of a self-help group other than self-advocacy, because if I say self-help group, then it attracts more people. Until I educate what self-advocacy is, because to me, a lot of people are scared to speak up for themselves. They think, well, if we speak up for ourselves, we'll get in trouble.
Well, that's better. We can see your face.
For some reason, the picture keeps going small, big, small.
I think it keeps drifting out, but
yeah,
we're good at the moment. Yeah, look, that's a really good point you raise, and I'd like to say I don't think in the city that many people, all people know about self-advocacy either, and I think you're right. It can sound a bit like jargon or a bit confusing, or maybe even fearful of it. It's really sensible.
If I could talk about my own experience, I did my Cert 3 in office administration, and after that I asked my teacher if she could assist me to find some admin work just in an office one day a week as a volunteer, and she ended up finding me some at our local advocacy agency. Now, I didn't know what self-advocacy was, so I went in there blind. It was like, what does this organisation do? And then it wasn't until I started going to TAFE and doing, my welfare course and my disability course, where I felt I was getting discriminated, and I would tell the boss at work that, this is what's happening. And he slowly taught me to, speak up for myself, encouraged me to, write letters, emails to say, I'm not happy or whatever. So that's what made me more passionate about becoming a self-advocate, because I didn't know what it was. So I sat there and I wondered, well, how many people don't know what self-advocacy is.
Yeah, I think it's important to balance out, claiming self-advocacy as a using that language, but also being mindful that lots of people don't know what that means, and so doing that sort of education as well as proudly being a self-advocate.
Mm. Yeah. And look, one of the things that I sit back, and I'm probably going off a little bit off topic here, but so please tell me if you think I am and I'll stop. One of the things that I think people take for granted is when you're writing an NDIS plan, I sit back and I wonder, well, how much of that NDIS plan is influenced by the person and not the person's carer or parent?
Yeah, that's a whole nother kettle of fish, isn't it? Because the NDIS requires it all to be written in a certain type of language with certain types of words, and you have to, so you end up, your application or can end up being written, usually it's best to probably even get an OT to do it rather than
yes.
Back.
I'm not employed through the Ethnic Council to do NDIS work. NDIS work is something that I could guide someone through, but not something that I would do through the Ethnic Council.
Well, I'm glad that you don't have to do that job, because that would be really hard. And not to say that it wouldn't be great to support people to get the NDIS, but I think it would be really hard because the NDIS is can be so bureaucratic and nonsensical too. Yeah. But anyway, Julie, would you like to move on to the next question? Or I think I missed one, so maybe go back.
I'll go back, yeah. So, Athena, have you worked for any other organisations, and how did you develop these connections?
Yes, as I said earlier, I was a volunteer for our local advocacy agency for about 10 years, and then went on and completed the Diploma of Welfare Studies, where they offered me a traineeship in doing some stats work with their advocates and collating their workloads and things like that. And then I moved on with the same organisation and did some self-advocacy group work. I did that for about 4 years and then decided to go and move on and do some more study. But after I completed that study that I was doing, I was offered a job in ECCV Melbourne doing some work up here again in self-advocacy and also in the NDIS space. I guess I just developed the connections by just becoming a volunteer and making myself well known within the community.
Yeah. And what forums have you attended to assist you in the sector?
Well, I spoke at the Self-Advocacy Month last week. I've attended the Have a Say conference once. And I've also been on the local council disability advisory committee meetings. I was doing that for about 3 to 4 years. Did reapply, but unfortunately didn't get on for another term this year, but it doesn't matter. I've had my fair go. Give someone else a chance.
So it's good to hear there's a demand for that position on council. Often they're trying to seek people and nobody wants to do the job. So like you.
Look, they did advertise it slightly different this year, which makes me think that's why they got more people.
Good. I think you could happily say you've inspired some people and you've done your job, and you can move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
So how did we find you? How did Diversity Disability find you initially?
I think again through the Ethnic Council, but don't quote me. Or it could be just the work that I did at ECCV. I'm not sure, Julie.
So, what about the feasts that you attended? Do you think that had a...
The feast I attended because I had to attend to apply for the job at ECCV.
Yeah, that's good. It was a stepping stone.
So I think Julie's trying to point out that D&D ran some self-advocacy events called feasts a few years back, quite a few years back actually, and you were very proactive and you ran them in Melbourne, but you also went regionally and ran one in Shepparton, and it was a great way to connect with other disabled.
So
if I remember rightly, I think I might have actually spoke about my personal experiences then.
So for anyone listening on YouTube land, do you think that going to these events, even if there may not be like a position at the end of it, do you think going to these events and forums and doing different things in the sector, it improves your on many levels, I think, and makes you well known and opens up doors, Athena?
Exactly. It opens up doors. It shows people that I'm not scared to speak up. And I'm just, by me attending, a forum, people just get to know me.
And I think it's really speaking up is really difficult for some people, and it's a skill, and a skill can be learned. A skill can be learned,
and practice.
Practiced. So there are organisations like SARU, Self-Advocacy Resource Unit, who do lots of work along those lines to training people up. And it doesn't matter your starting point, and it doesn't really matter if you're a bit shy. I've seen lots of people come out of their shell and be great self-advocates and empower themselves and their communities around them.
Which is good, because I've seen a lot of people, do certain things as well, Julie, with the work.
Yeah.
With the work that I've done and things like that. So that's cool.
So so this channel has been set up for the purpose to empower people, people with disabilities, and even people who are able-bodied, having information and knowing, learning skills, as we spoke about earlier on. The word self-advocacy may be a bit of a jargonistic word, and people may not know what that means, how it can assist themselves in their everyday lives, just by speaking up. Could we just go into a manager and say, look, something's happened I'm not happy with? And what you do then, you sort of like giving feedback to an organisation and to make change in the community. So that's what it's all about, making change.
It is. And I think whilst we talk about self-advocacy, it's good to distinguish between individual self-advocacy and group self-advocacy, which, they exist, but they're quite group self-advocacy is actually deliberately bringing people together and working as a group to create change in society to include bring disabled people rights. So we learn to do that for ourselves individually, but also doing it as a group.
So when we do it as a group, it's termed as systemic advocacy.
Well, it's actually called group self-advocacy. Systemic self-advocacy is where we're trying to look at the systemic issues that disabled people face, like maybe, I don't know, can't think of anything right now, closing prisons. That's like a systemic issue. But if you're just in an individual, you might be like going, well, I want to get access visiting rights to my disabled person in prison. These are probably not the best examples, but group self-advocacy is when disabled people come together as a group and work together. And it's important that they're self-disability led. So they're not an organisation or non-disabled people trying to run things. They might assist, but group self-advocacy is disability led and focused on systemic issues, but maybe not always.
Okay, thanks for that clarification. So let's move on. So, Athena, what's your vision for people living with disability in regional Victoria?
Look, I would just like to see more people getting out within the community, achieving their goals, giving things a go, you know, regardless of whether they're a disabled person or an able-bodied person, they have the right to give things a go, achieve their goals. And I always say, it doesn't matter how long it takes me to achieve my goal. It's more about what I learn along the way.
Great view.
So the journey, not the destination.
Yes.
Cool. Yeah, concur. Yeah, absolutely agree on that level. Okay, so what goals have you achieved in your career, and what steps did you take to achieve these goals? Now we may have covered this, so if you want to skip that question.
No, I'll briefly say it again. Basically, for me, I wanted to finish my diploma course so I could get work, because before doing any courses, I found it hard to find employment. I wasn't sure where to look for employment. I wasn't sure who to get me to help me. So I got my teacher to help me look for volunteer work. So that volunteer work then sort of led into me having paid work, and I've sort of had paid work for the last 3 to 4 years now.
Cool. Thanks, Athena.
So, Athena, have you found that your culture, your cultural background, your Greek background has caused a barrier to in any of these pursuits in your education?
No, but I believe my disability has.
Aha. So how has your disability created barriers?
Certain teachers, while I was studying, didn't understand my disability, and often I would get looked at as a disabled person, not as a but Athena can do things sort of person. So a lot of my teachers, while I was at school, would sort of look at me and go, she's a disabled person, she's not going to be able to achieve this.
So they had very low expectations of you.
Yes.
Yeah, common thing.
But yeah, no, my culture has not been a barrier at all.
That's great. It's really great to hear. Is there a big, I think in Shepparton there are lots of different sort of cultures that aren't white in Shepparton, isn't there?
Yes, there is. A lot of Turkish and Indian people, and Macedonian people that own a lot of the orchards around Shepparton.
And of course, there's lots of Indigenous Australians who live in Shepparton too.
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
Yeah, I wonder if that's created an environment that is more accepting of migrant Australians.
Possibly.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to, see. So what are some of your future goals?
To remain in paid employment and purchase my own house and live independently by the end of next year.
Oh, I love it. And have you got a plan and a plan of attack?
Look, I was going to buy I have actually started looking at the moment to buy a unit, but I think I'll put that on pause for a little bit more and just save some more money because interest rates are very high at the moment.
Yeah. Sounds like you've thought about this quite a bit, and yeah, I would be surprised if you achieve it. Sometimes when I set myself a goal, I mean, sometimes I don't like put in a plan, so it just sort of remains this sort of thing that I never actually achieve because I haven't actually put some steps in place. But lots of other things.
Look, I have a couple of close friends that I talk to regularly, and I often talk to them about how I'm feeling, you know, what my plans are, and we just talk about, you know, what happens if this doesn't happen, how can we achieve it? Yes, it might take us longer, but, you know, for me, for example, well, I was going to buy a house by Christmas time this year. I've now come to the reality that that may not be possible due to interest rates. So I've just come to the conclusion where I'm going to continue working and save some more money and reassess next year.
So you're goal orientated, Athena. What a way to go.
I certainly am.
I am also, and yes, so yeah, routine and goal orientated. For those people that struggle with these sort of issues, again, it's a skill we can learn. You need baby steps, you know, and once you reach your first step, you celebrate it.
You
So
do,
that's
yes.
a good way to keep you motivated.
Yes.
Okay, so Athena, if you could do one thing that you never have done before, what would that be? Again, you may have answered this question.
If I can do one thing that I've never done before. Well, I did say to you earlier, Julie, that I went to the snow.
Yes, in our pre-interview chat.
Now, that was something that I said I would do, but, you know, family members wouldn't take me, so I had to use my NDIS funding to be able to do that. But the thing that I like the most, they've got a little ski equipment that they sit a person in a wheelchair, and they have an instructor behind you pushing you, so it feels like you're skiing.
How cool is that?
And
part of the punt.
And you've got the ability to go on the chairlifts, sitting on that piece of equipment. You know, so that day I went to the snow, I was sitting on this piece of equipment. I was out of my chair. It gave me the freedom that I wanted. And like I said to you, you know, I'm having conversations with my friends at the moment about doing a couple of days in Tasmania next year. So, you know, just I keep a to-do list or a goal list, and just once a month I might tick off one of those activities.
Very
cool. Yeah.
Yeah. I think we could learn something from that, from you.
For me, it's very important to keep a list of things you want to achieve. And also the other thing that I use to de-stress, particularly on a stressful day, if I'm not talking to my friends, is I keep a journal.
Okay, and is that a journal that, what sort of journal is it? There's lots of different types of journals. Is it one where you reflect daily on how you are going with your goals, or?
Look, I just write it daily or a couple of days, and I submit it to my counsellor, and I have regular counselling sessions with my counsellor, and we talk about how I'm feeling.
Ah, okay. Oh, that's interesting. I've not heard of it that used. I haven't come across it being used that way very often. Interesting.
But it's also a good thing for me to use as a tool, because my counsellor has been away sick for the last probably 3 to 4 weeks. So I've missed my sessions, but I can still write in my journal and vent about how I'm feeling.
Yeah, yeah. I'm with you on the benefit of journaling. I don't currently do it, but I have done it in the past. And there were times when my venting was just a few pages of swear words. And it was amazing how much better I felt.
Yeah. Like I hadn't done it for a while, but I've been working with this counsellor for probably a year and a half now. And that was just something I started to do with him. And it's been working, so I've continued doing it.
How about we have a little bit of a discussion about counselling? It's when you seek help, it's a sign of strength, not weakness.
Yes.
And it's.
Could I just say something there, Julie? A discussion that I've had with my counsellor around that is that I use counselling because I want to change myself. I want to better myself, become a better person.
And also, you don't necessarily have to be under extreme duress. I think it's really beneficial, even if you are feeling good, to keep regular appointments.
Yeah.
I don't know for you, Athena, but one a monthly. And so I see a monthly psychologist, and because like you, Athena, I want to improve on myself, and if there's something I can improve in my personality, maybe that I'm not aware of, and a professional can pick it out. I want to know. I don't want it sugarcoated, because I want change in my life, positive change.
I have it weekly, and my counsellor doesn't work over the school holidays. So by the end of the school holidays, I notice a difference within myself, because I feel like I'm bottling things up and I haven't had that chance to speak to him about how I'm feeling, or even now, that he's been away 3-4 weeks sick. There's been particular scenarios that I've really wanted to speak to him about and have put him in my journal, and it's like, but it's going to be too late on Friday when he's back, because some of those issues are solved.
Which is good in a way. It's good that some of the issues are solved.
Yeah.
Because counselling is good, but then also that's good is having a bit of self-reliance and self-confidence.
Yes.
To deal with things that have occurred in your life that may have upset you, or that poses as some sort of trigger for you.
And look, I'll just use one of the triggers that I'm faced with on a daily basis that I reckon I've spoken about before in our other YouTube interview that we've done. One of my major triggers for me is being in regional Victoria. There's often not enough carers to cover the personal needs that I need. So I use 3 providers, and I'm often told by my providers, we don't have someone to cover tomorrow's session, but it's up to you to go to one of your other providers and find someone. So I'm constantly stressed to make sure that I've got enough carers coming in to assist me.
I know when we did the feast, an issue that emerged was people were denied showers or because of lack of staff. Does that still happen?
Yes, they do.
Mm.
I mean, cleanliness and hygiene is sort of like a basic human right, I think. That's sort of like not good at all.
No, it's not.
Can we go back to the counselling? I'd like to just add that whilst counselling works really well for some people, there are people for whom it doesn't work, and
yes.
There's actually.
Could I just also say there, you've got to connect with your counsellor as well. If you don't connect with your counsellor, it doesn't work.
That's right. So you might need to shop around, but you also might need to also acknowledge, well, actually, I mean, we promote the whole mental health drama in Australia or Victoria at the moment is called Lifeline and go and talk to your counsellor, or as if this is going to work. But statistically, there's been studies done that says that, you know, quite a significant percentage of people, I can't remember what it is, maybe 30% or 40% don't actually benefit. I think it's actually more. I think it's actually 50% don't benefit from counselling, and some people are actually harmed by it. So that if you already know that you're someone who has tried counselling and it didn't work, don't beat yourself up that it's your fault, because it may be that counselling is just not working for you. And it's then important to find other ways to share the load. And that might be through your, you know, your group, your self-advocacy group, or through with friends or other people who think like you. And the other thing I find with counselling is that most of my issues are that I want to talk about are about ableism and about the discrimination that that I face or that I see and that upsets me. But I have found in my many attempts to seek counselling that the counsellors don't know what this word is, and they find it really difficult to understand. There's just a lack of education. And so I end up spending all my time educating them on why this is an issue, and that's not what I want to be there for. So yeah, I just want to have a bit of a disclaimer around counselling.
Yeah, and that's great. And you know, for our First Nations brothers and sisters and their cultural diversity, and you know, looking people in the eye, because you know, it's not the done thing in the Indigenous community, and you know, I'd say that would be a huge barrier. I don't know 100%. I haven't spoken to people about First Nations people about this topic. Yeah, but
I have actually,
go
and
on.
the issue that they, I was going to say I have actually, and the issue that they, I mean, anecdotally, but the issue they face is actually similar to us as disabled people, in that they go to counselling often because they're suffering you know, distress over the racism they experience, but then they find that the counsellor can't understand that racism because the counsellor is often white and doesn't have a great understanding of Aboriginal culture, and so the person feels like they just again feel like they're educating their counsellor about racism and not actually receiving the benefit. So I guess the point is we need counsellors and psychologists that are actually diverse, and then we need to make education systems actually inclusive and available for people from all cultures, and including disability culture. Would you agree, Julie?
Yes, I agree there. Yes, so yeah, it's a very important topic that needs more resourcing from governments and education providers. You know, in the sociology of, you know, Indigenous peoples, First Nations peoples. So yeah, it's a huge topic. So that we can't necessarily do it justice today. And we move on. Larissa, I think we're up to question 10.
Okay, all right. So we haven't really, we're sort of, Anthea. So I'm wondering, from your perspective, living in rural Victoria, in Shepparton, what are the barriers? Do you see any barriers for people with disability who are also from coal backgrounds?
Not understanding particular services, not having the options to possibly achieve their goals. And mainly too, also, like I said earlier, because of the fact that a lot of multicultural people with disabilities are kept at home, looked after by their families, that's a barrier, because they're not being able to experience life out within the community.
Yeah, or indeed necessarily meet other disabled people either.
Yes.
Yeah, and another barrier you mentioned before is just access to support staff, which is an issue across the country at the moment, across everything, but it's been a long-standing issue for in the disability sector, but particularly regionally, I imagine.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So, do you have any suggestions, Athena, to address these barriers?
Where possible, use more than one provider for the services. And just with the, for people, I just try and encourage anyone and everyone to get out there and achieve their goals to the best of their ability.
Okay, cool. Would you like to continue, Larissa?
Sure. So, this is a bit of an unfair question to you because it's sort of basically asking what are the barriers and difficulties that people with disability face living in rural Victoria as opposed to a city like Melbourne, because you don't live in Melbourne, so you don't necessarily know what we've got. But
no,
what do you think? What do you think the differences are for disabled people living in the city as opposed to the rurally?
Well, I guess for me, like I said, there's probably more waiting lists for particular services in Shepparton than what there is in Melbourne. There's probably more options for care services in Melbourne than what there is in Shepparton. And probably too, the employment chances are probably higher than what they are in Shepparton as well.
Okay.
You mean there's more unemployment?
Yes.
Yeah.
But that is a real hard question, considering I've been living in Shepparton for 35 years.
Also, educate, access to education, I don't know, maybe a little bit more easier in metropolitan cities. So there seems to be more funding or, more ways to apply for funding. If the city is a more people, bigger population demands more resources.
And I guess, I'm thinking about, the things that take up a lot of my time would be, accessing healthcare. And we all know that there's a real lack of GPs and medical specialists in rural Victoria. And so that would just add heaps of, having to travel to Melbourne to seek medical care would be a big onerous task compared to, the fact what we do here in the city.
I'm a bit lucky in that respect. I haven't had to travel to Melbourne for medical appointments because, I've got my own doctor, the doctor I had when we first moved to Shepparton. I've sort of stayed with the same one. Yes, he is hard to get into, and occasionally I have found myself seeing another doctor or just saying to them, can you organise these scripts and I'll pick them up?
Do they have email, SMS type of scripts in Shepparton?
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. But for me, I'm always in town, so I'll just go and pick them up.
So for all those listening, you can have that service provided to you by your pharmacist. It's great because I think some doctors, if it's ongoing medication, they can sort of streamline things a bit better, so you don't have to keep on going in for certain scripts. So anyway, last question, Athena. So what's your vision for cold people with disabilities living in regional Victoria? This is a bit of a futuristic one. In 20 years' time.
I would hope that, they're out there working and achieving their goals. And I would hope that there's more employment that suits that individual because, each disability is different. So therefore, my strengths and weaknesses might be different to someone else's that has a disability.
And also, we have to, you brought up a good point there, Athena. So let's just take cerebral palsy. So not everyone with cerebral palsy has the same sort of, it's the same condition, but the actual effects are different. I mean, some people
Yes.
have difficulty swallowing, some people can walk a little bit, some can't. So just to put everyone in the same box that has the same disability, that needs to really stop and be addressed on an individual level.
Yes, that is so true. And I think that employers should be made to undertake some sort of disability training and also multicultural training.
Yep. So I'd like to thank Athena Papadotos. Sorry, Athena, I hope
That's
I
all right, Julie.
pronounced that right. I've got a shocking pronunciation for mine's not any better. So anyway, I'd like to thank Athena from the Shepparton Council and Districts for this very insightful interview. And yeah, that's the end of our interview. So
Thank you,
very
Julie,
much.
and thank you for having me. Just remember to let me know where people can view it, please.
Sure.
Thank you.
We want to mention.
Sorry.
Well, I guess if people are here now, they're probably worked out how to access the YouTube. So yeah, I think you can just subscribe to. That's really useful to do, to subscribe to the Your Voice, Your Life channel, and then you'll always be let know when there's a new episode.
It's actually Your Life, Your Voice.
I knew I'd get it wrong.
That's fine.
So what is it, Julie?
I get things wrong so often. And so it's okay to get things wrong. So, I think as self-advocates, people living with disability, I think we're much too hard on ourselves. So if there are any other comments, I'll go to the end of the program. Thank you, ladies.
Thanks, Athena.
Thanks. Nice to see you, babe. Bye-bye.
Catch us on Your Life, Your Voice YouTube channel live every Monday fortnight or on demand.
We would like your comments and suggestions on topics that you would like us to explore. Leave your comments on YouTube comments section.
Please feel free to email us on dndyourlifeyourvoice@gmail.com or contact us via the Migrant Resource Centre Northwest Region Inc. Phone number 1300 676 044. 1300 676 044.
Diversity in Disability is a project of the Migrant Resource Centre Northwest Region Incorporated, and would like to thank the management for funding this project, especially living through the COVID-19 pandemic. The pandemic has been difficult for people with disabilities living in isolation.